Jeez.
You speak the true.
I'm in Cloud Atlas!
What's Cloud Atlas?
How is this possible?
Infinite timelines, infinite possibilities, including a timeline where Jerry's a movie star. Look, you guys are getting excited about the wrong aspect of this device. What? Look at this.
I'm walking here! Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the cromulent certified swiftiest show on the web.
Oh, yeah. You gotta get swifty.
But you know what's decidedly not swifty? That we still have months to wait before we can feast our eyes on Season 3 of one of the best shows on TV right now, Rick and Morty. Man, if only I could get my hands on Rick's portal gun and travel to an alternate dimension where the episodes are already out. Actually, come to think of it, if I had a portal gun, I'd probably use it for other things.
There were a lot of attractive women there, Morty, and they all wanted time with me.
One of the reasons I love this show so much is how it's always dropping really smart, nerdy jokes about reality, science, and philosophy, but isn't above some good old-fashioned toilet humor. What? Rick, no, you can't!
Too late, Morty, the hole's opening.
No, Rick, you don't understand!
There's a lot more where that came from, too.
Ah, the classic fart joke. But it's the characters in Rick and Morty that are the best elements of this show. Jerry's soul-crushing mediocrity, Morty's endless sexual frustration, Summer's endless quest to be popular, and Beth's domestic alcoholism. Actually, that last one probably shouldn't be funny. But it is! Then, of course, there's Rick, the enigmatic interdimensional genius. The end of Season 2 leaves us with a cliffhanger that promises some kind of revelation about Rick's past. And that is what we're theorizing about today. Without getting too specific, I'm gonna go ahead and warn you all now. Do not watch any further if you haven't seen up through Season 2 of Rick and Morty. Check obligatory spoiler alert off the to-do list, and let's go. The fan community for the show has been losing their minds about Rick getting jailed at the end of Season 2's finale. How's he gonna get out? Is Season 3 gonna start with an epic prison break, a la Prison Break style? But the biggest question of all is, what did Rick even do to get locked up in the first place? Not much is known about the circumstances surrounding his imprisonment. I mean, in the past, he's made some passing statements about having a lot of enemies.
As you know, Morty, I've got a lot of enemies in the universe that consider my genius a threat. Galactic terrorists, a few subgalactic dictators, most of the entire intergalactic government. Wherever you find people with heads up their asses.
And at Bird Person's wedding, he graces Beth with some casual wedding chatter.
The road your father and I walk together is soaked deeply with the blood of both friends and enemies.
Must be nice. Then, right before the vows are given, it turns out Summer's friend Tammy is an undercover narc for the Galactic Federation, and her wooing of Bird Person was all just an elaborate ruse to trap Rick and throw him into the big house. And that's it. That's all we know. We don't really know the specifics of why Rick is labeled as a terrorist. It's widely accepted that the show's creators are withholding the answers to these questions, waiting until the new episodes come out to reveal the specifics about Rick's mysterious past. But screw that! Why wait for them? What if the answer to Rick's misdeeds are right in front of us already? Hang on to your head hats, because I'm about to show you what I got. Because honestly, I think I got it all figured out. First, here's a clip from the Season 2 finale.
What are you in for?
Everything.
I don't think Rick is being dismissive here. Rick is in prison because he hasn't just broken laws, he's broken entire systems of laws, and the realities that harbored them. Rick is labeled a terrorist and thrown into prison because he is literally a serial destroyer of worlds. That's my theory anyway. Does it sound like a stretch? It's not. For a prime example of Rick's nonchalant world-destroying antics, we only need to look at the end of the infamous episode Rick Potion number 9. It goes like this. Morty realizes it's gonna take a lot more than an evening of Netflix and chill to get Jessica to be his girlfriend. So he asks Rick to brew him a love potion. When the potion's effects accidentally spread to the entire town, Rick's attempt at a cure doesn't quite go as planned. The entire town gets transformed into classic 80s horror movie nightmares. And after another failed attempt at a cure, the whole world becomes infected. So what do Rick and Morty do? He finds a dimension that is exactly like his current dimension, save for two things. 1, the attempt to cure the world of the virus is successful, and 2, the Rick and Morty of that respective universe are seconds away from death. That way, Rick and Morty from the infected reality can simply bury the bodies of the deceased Rick and Morty, take their place, and go on with their lives. Now, you might be thinking that this is a really contrived solution to the show's problem. It's awfully convenient that a reality exists in which everything is the same except for those two variables. I mean, what are the chances that such a reality would even exist? Well, according according to the canon of the show, the odds are practically 100%.
There's an infinite number of realities, Morty.
Let me explain. The series Rick and Morty appears to adhere to what's known as Everett's interpretation of quantum mechanics, better known as the many worlds interpretation. Before many worlds, reality was always viewed as a single unfolding history, a timeline where one event leads to another, leads to the next. Everett's interpretation, however, proposed that reality is much less like a line and more like a tree, with branches at key points where other possible outcomes are realized. To put it simply, everything that could possibly have happened in our past, but didn't, has occurred in the past of some other universe. For instance, the other week I was in the theater and presented with a dilemma. A bag of perfectly good popcorn on the ground. My moral quandary: do I eat that seemingly perfectly good bag of floor corn? Or do I leave the floor corn where it belongs? On the floor. I even posted the debate on Twitter and the comments raged. Despite my better judgment and the popular vote, I decided to give the floor corn a pass. But by the many worlds interpretation, there's a universe where I ate that floor corn and suffered the consequences of that decision, whether it was reveling in artificial buttery goodness or getting the herb. Well, floor corn aside, the same is true for Rick and Morty. In the show, there's a universe where Rick decides to make the love potion for Morty, turning the world into chaos, and one where he doesn't, and life goes on as normal. So if virtually every reality exists, then Rick can dimension hop as much as he wants, leaving behind destroyed old realities and inhabiting new ones that conform to whatever condition he desires. And as you can imagine, Rick jumping from one universe branch to another whenever it suits him is messing with the order of those other worlds. For instance, if Rick and Morty are supposed to be dead in this new dimension they hop to in Rick Potion number 9, their arrival from the Cronenberg universe is throwing a whole new set of variables into an otherwise closed system. And that's going to create problems to the order of this many world system. Which begs the question, how many times has Rick done this? If we look back at the end of Rick Potion number 9, Rick seems oddly nonchalant about the whole burying his own dead body thing. While Morty has a mind-melting existential crisis, Rick just grabs a beer and watches some TV. It's clear that this is not his first time at the rodeo. He's done this before. As a matter of fact, in the very first scene of the entire show, Rick destroys another world. Don't remember? Let's take a look. In the cold open to the pilot, Rick drunkenly attempts to nuke the entire world in order to allow a fresh start. Even though Morty eventually talks him out of it, Rick passes out before he can disarm the bomb. The countdown sequence gets closer and closer to launch, and we hear that the bomb is fully armed right before the show takes us to the title sequence. But what happened that the show's creators aren't showing us? There's no way Morty, who's characterized as naive and not brilliant, could figure out how to stop the launch sequence himself. So boom! The show opens with Rick's favorite drunken pastime, destroying an entire reality. I mean, if this is the kind of guy who would burn down his entire brick-and-mortar startup just because he got bored, there's little doubt he'll also destroy entire worlds when they start to tire on him. Maybe that's what the devil was referring to when he said this in the episode Something Ricked.
I mean, seriously, I may be the devil, but your grandpa is the devil.
We really have no way of telling just what dimension we're in or how many times Rick has hopped realities. Heck, every time a new episode starts, we could be in an entirely new dimension. How about all the societal disillusionment brought up by the Cromulans and Get Swifty? Entire faiths are dismantled due to the giant floating things in the sky that almost destroy the entire world. Yet we see no remnants of the headist religion in any episodes that follow. That's because that reality was left behind in between episodes. It's clear that Rick does a fair amount of interdimensional travel in between episodes, as evidenced by the scan on his portal gun and close Rick counters of the Rick kind. Who's to say that he comes back to the same reality every time? In all likelihood, we're seeing a different reality almost every time. But Matt Pat, you're probably saying. He has to be in the same dimension throughout the show because he's referred to as Earth Rick C-137. C-137, of course, referring to the dimension he resides in. Well, the prevailing wisdom is that the episodes 1 through 6 of Season 1 take place in dimension C-137. And after Rick and Morty Cronenberg the world up in Rick Potion number 9, he travels to another, unnamed dimension. But what makes us so sure that the initial dimension we're watching is C-137? If we think back to some of the details given to us throughout the series, some things just don't add up. For one, we're taught that Rick left Beth for 20 years before he moved into the garage and re-entered her life. Yet in close Rick counters of the Rick kind, we see some of Rick's memories projected onto the screen. One of them is holding baby Morty. But that doesn't make sense. If Rick has been gone for 20 years and Morty is still in high school, then how could he be present for Morty's infancy? If Earth Rick C-137's memories indicate a different history than the Beth of the initial dimension, there's no way that episode 1 through 6 took place in C-137. Truth is, Rick has hopped to and from so many dimensions, he doesn't even remember what dimension he's in anymore. In the episode Morty Night Run, Rick and Morty drop Jerry off at a daycare, specially designed to keep Jerry's busy while their Ricks and Mortys are off in their irresponsible adventures. Now what's telling here is that when Rick is filling out the admissions paperwork, he writes C-137 for his own dimension, but NA for Jerry's. Strange detail, right? Now, obviously this Jerry doesn't exist in a paradoxical non-dimension. He's from somewhere. So why does Rick write not applicable here? Because Rick destroys and switches realities so often that he isn't even sure which one he's in at the moment. But the kicker for me is the show's intro. In the final shot of the awesome opening sequence, we see a visual reference to H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu, a giant cosmic entity that's so widely known as the Destroyer of Worlds. But what's most interesting to me about this particular moment is that most of the other clips in the series intro are later revealed in the context of a full episode. This clip isn't anywhere to be found in any episode in either Season 1 or Season 2. So why include it? Especially considering it takes up the much revered spot as the image that takes us to the title card. Well, it's not a mistake, dear viewers. It's a deliberate reference to Rick, the world-destroying terrorist who fancies himself a cosmic deity.
He has the power to save or destroy entire worlds, and he is the reason I'm alive at all.
But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. If you want more Swifty Rick and Morty action, click here to check out my friends at Wisecrack and their video on the philosophy of Rick and Morty. If you like this video, you'll love that one, covering everything from cosmic body horror to Jerry being the everyman. And finally, before you go, aim your portal gun right here to subscribe to the Film Theorists. Why would you do that? Well, duh, for more cool videos like this. You made it this deep into the video, so you must have really liked it. So why not keep the notifications coming? I mean, next episode is gonna be all about a Marvel movie that I think everyone's really excited about. So if you want to subscribe to make sure that that one winds up in your feed, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Just saying. Make the smart call. Subscribe.